What now?
I just got a
Hey,
notification on my phone that you're live.
yeah, we're live. All right, so welcome everybody to another edition of This Week in NASCAR. I'm joined again by DannyBTalks.
Hey guys, what's going on? Danny B here.
And, well, let's just get right into this because I'm horrible at intros. So this week we're going to be going over stuff in Las Vegas, the racing and some of the storylines afterwards. Talk a little bit about the TV ratings and attendance and what they mean moving forward. Give a little bit of a preview for ISM, which is Phoenix, but has a sponsor kind of like Charlotte did with Lowe's, and then sort of give our outlook with it and predictions and any other statements we have. So if we don't have anything else, I'll just sort of jump into the quick review, and then we can build off that from there, if that's cool with you.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay, so the review is short and sweet. Lap 80, Harvick won stage 1, and then 80 laps later, he won stage 2. There was a little bit of a spurt of action right after stage 2 ended, because on lap 176, McMurray blew a tire and hit the wall. And then about seven or 8 laps later, Kurt Busch and Chase Elliott crashed on the front stretch. And then from that point on, basically, Harvick whipped him, and he ended up winning. So that's all the big points from the race itself.
Yep, they green flag, boogity boogity, Harvick. That's the end of it.
Yeah, it was kind of like Atlanta, except without as much strategy and other people actually challenging him.
Atlanta, people say Harvick dominated. He did, like, I guess at the end. But honestly, I mean, I was there watching all of it. He didn't quite dominate. I mean, I saw a lot more competitive racing at Atlanta, like, than I did at Las Vegas. Las Vegas, Harvick was out there. He was out there. He was out there. And he's out there again.
Yeah, it just this past week just seemed a little more boring, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's one of them days where, it's just like, this is a good day to take a mid-race nap.
Yeah, and I actually didn't have any real urge to start watching it. I wasn't too crazy about the race last week. I mean, it was entertaining, like after they talked about the rain coming and stuff. It was just this week, Las Vegas hasn't really been, other than a really good fight last year, hasn't really been the biggest action track.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me last week, I fortunately was editing my vlog from Atlanta, so I mean, I had something else that was kind of keeping me occupied, just kind of watching the race, like where I sit at here on my computer desk. My TV is literally right beside of me, so I just look over at it and I'm able to watch TV there. But other than that, though, it was it's just like there's a race going on. Harvick's out front. That's all.
Yeah, I found like a really crappy feed of it for the first 30, 40 laps, and then went out into my living room and actually turned on the TV to watch it. But yeah. I mean, I guess we kind of should have seen Harvick, it coming that Harvick was going to be up front just because of how well he's been doing. I think since 2015, he's been up there a lot. I was just expecting that somebody would give a fight, like whether it be Truex or Kyle Busch or.
I guess what really surprised me most is that this wasn't the one where Truex started to show a little bit more muscle. And, last year when Truex, did so well, I heard somebody else say this, when you get to Las Vegas, that gives you a good idea of who's going to be your dominant person throughout the year. And in this case, it was Harvick. And, it's kind of, after seeing him at Atlanta and Las Vegas, you kind of be a fool to think otherwise.
Yeah, and I kind of noticed that with Las Vegas, the people who are in the top 10, whether it be at the old chase format or before the chase, or even with this, is whoever's in the top 5 or top 10 throughout the race and finishing, they're going to be the guys in the chase who are going to be making the biggest noise when it comes to the championship. I mean, aside from like a fluke like Ryan Newman, you're not really going to see many people who did bad at Vegas just because they did bad, not because of like a crash like Elliott and Busch. They're just.
Yeah, I'll say this about Chase Elliott. He got took out in the crash and all, But I mean, before that, he was running in the top 5 and top 10 at that race and doing a lot better than he did at Atlanta. So I mean, I don't think that, I still don't think Chase has anything to worry about.
No.
I still think that, his first win is coming, and potentially when he gets to Martinsville.
I think Elliott is the only Hendrick car, or driver, car, team, whatever. I think he's the only Hendrick team that actually has their shit together right now. Because Bowman is starting with a new team. William Byron, I know people are hailing him as the next Jeff Gordon. I know I said something like that last week.
I don't want to say that. I just want to think that, he's a great racer getting a great opportunity. And this is just his chance to get his feet wet in the Cup Series. Bowman, I guess he's had his feet wet, but he's been out in a lake in floaties. He needs to be out there, in a top quality boat right now. He needs some time to get out there.
And because Bowman, I mean, he did well after a while getting some chemistry with Greg Ives. But I mean, a lot of us forget too that 88 team was not right in 2016, 2017. And this year, I think they're starting off slow. And then with Byron, with the hype he's got, I think a lot of people, forget. I mean, he's younger than me. He's like 20 years old, It's going to take him a little time. I mean, Joey Logano is one of the best drivers in Cup right now, whether you like him or not. But it took him a good 3 or 4 years to get everything together.
His first few years from like 2009 to, well, even actually he started a little bit in 2008 because he drove the number 02? I think he drove that one. He drove that one for a little bit, for a few races. And then, in 2009, he took over 20 for Tony Stewart. But, from other than his, fluke rain win at New Hampshire, he didn't do much until 2012 was his last year in the 20 car. And then after that, he went over to Penske, and obviously that was a huge career-changing opportunity for him.
Yeah, and then going back to the Hendrick guys, like Jimmy Johnson yesterday, he finished on, or not yesterday, Sunday, he finished on the lead lap, but that team,
still wasn't pretty.
They were saying how they halfway through the race and towards the end of the race how they had it figured out. If getting it figured out is running between 13th and 15th, then there's a lot more problems than they're letting on.
Yeah, I mean,
that was
I predicted Jimmy Johnson to make it in the playoffs, but only with one win, and that win I predicted was this past weekend at Las Vegas. That obviously didn't happen, and so now I don't know, just based on the way he did last year and the way things are looking so far, I mean, unless they actually get their crap together and get Jimmy a win, I don't know they're going to be consistent enough this year.
And it's only 3 weeks in, but it's starting off kind of like how
this has been a very telling 3 weeks for the 48 team. This is not feeling like the same 48 team we've seen.
It feels kind of like how Junior started last year and how Stewart started 2016 and 2013, where it's just, you think that or not 16, but 2013, how Stewart started, where it's like, it's not, the wheels haven't completely fell off, but it's like, this is not the same legend that we've seen.
And I'll say this for Johnson, he's never had a season in his entire Cup career where he didn't win at least 2 races. That not just one race. He has not had a season where he hasn't won at least 2 races. So I mean, he's got a big, thing on his shoulder here.
Yeah, I mean, 2011, he finished 6th in points and had over 20 top 10s, but he only had 2 wins. And at the time, I was like, man, he had a horrible year. And then you look at even in the year he won this 7th championship, he wasn't good for the whole year. He turned it on or got lucky, which way you want to look at it at the right time. 2016, he was a little off of that, and then last year, I mean, he only had 14 top 10s.
I mean, he started off last year really well, and I guess that comes with the momentum of winning the championship. He won He won Texas. He won
Texas and Bristol in a row. Yeah,
he won Texas, Bristol. I was there for Bristol and then Dover.
Yeah,
And even in Dover, seemed more like a fluke win because he just kind of happened to be in the right place at the right time to get around Larson, because Larson had been more dominant in that race. And then the caution come out and Johnson was there, and then that's how that happened.
And it's like I don't think he's lost it as a driver as much as I just think Hendrick in general, something sort of went wrong there. Like I think they're sort of falling behind, and I had if Johnson's not like the legendary driver he is, whether you like him or not, he's a generational defining driver. If he's not that type of talent, he's running with Bowman and Byron. I mean, the way the car looked on Sunday, that car should have wrecked at least 100 times before the end of the race. I mean, there was at one point where they showed it and you could see the 48 on the right door.
Yeah. Now, just to interrupt here, I'm looking at the comments here. I'm going to read a few of them here, and we'll just kind of go from there. The Disaster Gamer says, how do you think Bubba Wallace will perform on these new tracks and experiences for him? I mean, I don't really want to say too much on Bubba right now because the only win I had him predicted to get this season was with Daytona summertime, and after what I've seen in the 500, I think that's still very well possible. I think Bubba, just like William Byron, you just need to give him time to actually see how he does. It's still way too early to be saying how do I think they will be doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I mean at the same while they're in Chevys now, this team still isn't one of these top tier guys like a Hendrick or a Childress, even with the Alliance, like Chevy wise. So I think that it's going to take a while with this new manufacturer change. And plus, I mean, a lot of these tracks he's going to for the first time. And it's really hard for new drivers to go to a track for the first time and just light it up. It happens very rarely. So I think that this year is a learning experience for him. I think he'll be better in the second half of the year. But, I think, best case scenario, in my opinion, is either he gets a lucky win and gets bounced the first round of the chase or top 20 in points. This year isn't a make or break for him, luckily.
Yeah. Moving on here, next comment here from the Atomic Boozle 60. I really don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but say it best I can. Should we be concerned about Hendrick Motorsports' performance heading into Phoenix, considering Alex Bowman's performance in 2016? The thing of that is, I still think we should be watchful of the Hendrick Motorsport performance like we was talking about just a few minutes ago. But Alex Bowman, I feel like this could be, out of all the Hendrick drivers, this could be his best chance to do something. And, I think this could be his best chance to do something because Phoenix is his home track. He's from Arizona. Obviously, I'm sure he's been wanting to get back there ever since the 2016 race when he was running and when he's leading majority of that race in Junior's car. And, other than Harvick, who's been, the most consistent, but, sometimes the thing of consistency, you can only do that for so long. And then, of course, this penalty is probably going to play a big role into some of their momentum for the weekend. I think Harvick might be your favorite for this race, but Alex Bowman might be your dark horse to surprise people and get this win.
I can see him as a dark horse. The 88 team, since about 2013, ever since they went to the Gen 6, really has been one of the better teams at Phoenix, no matter.
Yeah, and even though it was because of rain, that's where Dale Jr. got his last win at.
Yeah, and he was the whole race in the top 5. He's other than like one or two races, like flukes here or there, he was in the top 5, except for last year, but he just wasn't the same driver last year. And even then, he still was in the top 10. So, I mean, I think that, I give Ives a lot of crap because I don't think he's the best crew chief out there. But at the same time, he has Phoenix figured out. If there's any track that he's used Steve Letart's notes and built upon and made better, it'd be Phoenix. So I think this is, like you said, Alex Bowman's best shot, in my opinion, to win a race, other than maybe a crapshoot like the plate tracks or, a strategic win on a road course.
Mm-hmm. Another thing here, we was talking about Jimmy Johnson stuff here earlier. David Cunningham says, I like to look at Johnson's performance so far the same way I look at ball player slumps. Yeah, this is the longest winless streak he's ever had, but if he gets out of the slump and runs strong in the second half / playoffs, he could still win an ape. And that's true. I mean, if if he can be consistent enough to just make it, Johnson is capable of anything. And I think what was it, 2010? I don't think that he was really dominant in 2010. Obviously, he still won a championship that year, beating out Harvick and Hamlin that year. But I don't think that he was really that dominant. I think we really saw more out of the majority of that year from Kevin Harvick. But in the end, Johnson was the champion.
Yeah, I think the difference that I see is that those years, while he wasn't dominant, he was still running top 10 and top 5, and his team looked way more than competent. Like when he was having trouble earlier in the season, it was because of other people's problems crashing into him or blowing an engine or something. Whereas this year, it's like, even without that, he's just not been strong. He's been getting, like at this past race, I think he got lapped within the first stage.
Yeah, Johnson, his team is just always new. They call is it Harvick they call the closer?
Yes.
Well, he's the closer for races, but when it comes to seasons, Johnson's easily who I would call the closer because he knows when it's time to step it up and when to do it.
I guess I wouldn't be as concerned about how he's doing, and if there wasn't the downward slope to begin with, like if it was like 2010 where 2008 was dominant, 2007 he won 10 races, 2009 he just whipped the field, I wouldn't be as nervous saying he's off. But the fact that even winning that championship with this playoff format, it's such a crapshoot that Ryan Newman can go winless, run 13th all year, and then be right up for the championship in the last race for reasons. He hasn't run good really consistently since 2014 from what I can see. I mean, 2015 was a good year and a lot of drivers want that. If you don't even look at the championship, you just look at the numbers, it's just he sort of had this downward slope, and I don't know if it's the driver, the crew chief, it's just bad luck, but I wouldn't be as concerned if there wasn't that.
Yeah. I'm going to look up something real fast here out of curiosity because I'm realizing something here in my mind. I want to confirm this. Other than Johnson, being the 2016 champion, I think in the past, they started this playoff format in 2014. I think since they started that, we've seen 3 really consistent people: Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch all consistently be in that last 4.
Yeah, I think Logano might have been one of them too, but yeah, I think Keselowski's always been up front. There's been like the same 8 people, give or take a Jeff Gordon or a Jimmy Johnson here or there.
Or Carl Edwards.
Edwards, yeah.
R.I.P. him.
Yeah, that he should have won at least one championship, and I think 2016 was the one where he crashed himself.
Yeah,
it's just I mean, I don't think he should have been up there to begin with. He didn't run good enough that year, and I'm not a fan of this system. So.
Well, we're getting some comments here now that you might agree with here. Atomic Boozle says the format is bad as it puts a sense of consistency over 3 races over 10 or the full season. Stage points are a reward of regular season consistency. In a way, I agree with you. It's not the format, I guess, that really, when it comes to the actual playoffs itself, that rewards more or less just that actual true playoffs, which I guess is why they call it the playoffs. It's all about, stepping up your performance during that time period. The stage points do reward you throughout your regular season, which is great and all. I mean, because that obviously helped Truex a lot more last year. And compared to 2016, I'm curious how much different it could have been for him, winning the first 2 races of the playoffs, and if he had stage points too, maybe it would have been different. But it's kind of interesting to really think about it like that. And then David Cunningham also said, really wish they would award the overall points winner along with the playoff winner.
I think that'd be. knowing NASCAR, they'd probably do something like that just to add confusion to it. But
I mean,
uh,
if they did the overall points winner along with the playoff winner, the only thing I could really see them doing is like, well, like in college sports right now, the college basketball, my Tennessee Volunteers, they just, they were the co-SEC regular season champions. We would maybe see a NASCAR regular season champion potentially, but, we still have the playoffs, and that's how the rules are. And in the end, you have to learn to adapt with those rules if you want to win the championship.
yeah, like kind of similar to how like Notre Dame fan, they went undefeated that one year. But I mean, it's different with that because it's like they actually did have to play the best of the best, and they got completely ass blasted by Alabama. But it's just here's the thing with this system that I haven't even got since I started watching in 2005 is NASCAR as an organization, not take the fans, the drivers, everything else out. As an organization, prides itself on being different from all the other sports, from stick and ball sports. Yet in every given opportunity, whether it be stages, which have worked at times, have not worked at times, the chase, which looking at TV ratings and attendance has been a complete failure on that ground of what they were trying to do. They're trying everything they can to be just like football or baseball or basketball, right? And it sort of blends them into the crowd. Whereas like I don't know how to explain it. It's just they're sort of just fine being like everything else.
I mean, in a way, I can see why they try to make it more like your typical sports because even Bill France Jr. I was watching something about in 2001 when Fox took over. They strictly told Fox, we want you to present this like it's an actual sport. So I mean, the France family has always wanted this to feel more like an actual sport and not just this not this completely different thing. Like NASCAR is at a weird middle ground where they want to be a sport, but they also want to be sports entertainment, kind of like wrestling. So they're kind of like in the middle, they're their own thing, really.
What I think they need to understand is they're never going to be accepted by the masses. Even when NASCAR was the big fad sport, kind of like NHL was in the, 2010, 2011, or like other sports have been, like golf used to be, is like even when they were right near the NFL in ratings, they still were pretty much disregarded as like being one of those for real sports. They're never going to be that sport where people are going to be like, in the middle of the summer, if you ask the average American, like, okay, what do you want? Turn on a sports game or something. They're immediately going to think baseball or football in the fall or basketball in the spring. No one's ever going to in mass go, oh, turn on the NASCAR race when you're at a bar, unless you're in a NASCAR town.
Yeah, unless you're in a NASCAR town, or unless if it's like like a Buffalo Wild Wings, they got a million TVs, so surely they got to have one of them on there.
Yeah, like the Buffalo Wild Wings I'm at or I go to, or like other bar and girls around here, it's like they will, honest to God, have like tennis on instead of racing. It's just that irrelevant these days. And I think that it boils down to the fact that NASCAR is completely has decided to completely change its identity without knowing what identity it wants because it only changes every few years.
A lot of it comes down to management. I'm just going to go on a tangent here. NASCAR itself keeps hiring these corporate buddies of people, which is not what they need to be doing when it comes to how they're promoting the sport. I have applied and I have applied and I have applied for multiple positions within NASCAR, trying to be able to get my foot in there to try to present, my input as a diehard fan who wants to see the sport succeed in the future. But it seems like more and more you see them just going after people who have more corporate experience. Like you'll see, former people with Pepsi, Coca-Cola, big companies like that, when they won't even talk to somebody like me who has dreams for the sport in the future to even get a chance to put my foot in the door. And because I want to make sure that the sport succeeds. But I mean, if I'm just nothing more than a regular fan who's doing something on YouTube just for the fun of it, talking to, my 618 subscribers, whatever number it's going to be in the future, my word means nothing really, and that's the way it honestly is. You're not part of NASCAR's business, so your input really doesn't matter in the end. That's the plain and simple truth. What I think never will matter to NASCAR. Like what fans think, honest to goodness, folks. I mean, I know you want to believe that hey, they're listening to fans. In the end, it's still a business it's owned by one family, and you got to know somebody to get in with them.
Yeah.
It's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, like when they do change stuff that the fans would like say when they change Bristol, when they tried to change Bristol to be only on the bottom line, they keep doing it. It's not because, oh, the fans want it. It's because while the fans want it, the fans are willing to bring their money. And while they don't rely on attendance as much anymore because of TV ratings, if more people are watching, it gives that better effect of, wow, this is something people are wanting to go see, and more people watch on TV. Or like the Southern 500 in 2015 being moved back to its traditional date. That wasn't as much for the fans as the fact that we can build something here that makes people want to spend their money or spend their time on this. And I think people have to understand I tell people about this all the time when we talk about like sports fixing. I'm not going to go into that. I don't think every race is fixed, all that BS. But when I talk about like sports fixing or manipulation to make it more entertaining, like a BS debris caution, it's like people got to remember that don't think of it as a sport anymore. There are so many, like you said, corporate people in it and so much money poured into it that you have to think of this as a business. What is going to make the business more money and in turn more successful?
Yeah, no, I mean it's like Monster Energy taking over. They think that their brand is just going to catch on for these NASCAR fans, and everyone's going to be loving it and all that. I mean, I don't know what Monster's thinking. I mean, do you really think that NASCAR fans are just going to want to be enjoying a Monster like that? Wearing T-shirts with their logo on. I mean, it's not going to happen, Monster. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen like that.
At least they brought pretty girls along before they get banned like an F1.
I really hope people were smart enough to catch on to what I was doing there.
I get exactly, yeah. As I saw at one point, I'm just like, oh man, this is good. So if Monster like wants to sponsor us or anything, we're completely against that.
I mean, I'm not gonna. I refuse to get a check for drinking a Monster.
Let's see. There's a few more. I can't pronounce your name in the chat, so I'm just going to call you AB68. He says two of them. I once requested NASCAR at B-Dubs, and they had the same thing on 4 screens, so they changed it to 3. And also the same B-Dubs loves NASCAR. You could watch practice in New York alongside baseball. You're lucky, because the one in Illinois that I live near, that I've went to, it's a barren wasteland for racing. Maybe it's just where in the country we're at, but we can honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they put in high school basketball over NASCAR, because I remember once I asked at the B-Dubs, I was with some friends, and it was only an Xfinity race. It was, I think, nationwide back then. But I asked if they could have that on the screen, and they changed one of the screens that, like you said, had like 4 or 5 of the same game. They changed one of them to the race and immediately got like 4 or 5 complaints and turned it right back. So maybe it's a different culture around here, but you're lucky. That's all I'm saying, AB68, because I can't pronounce your name and I don't want to stutter over it.
Well, I mean, I'll say it like this. Around here, the B-Dubs that we got close to me would be in Knoxville, Tennessee. And the only time that I would say would be the biggest issue, a lot of, and closer to the fall, the playoff races, a few more of those in the fall time or ran at nighttime. Well, if you're in Knoxville, Tennessee, and it's nighttime, you care a lot about the Tennessee Volunteers football team and the SEC in general. So if there's big SEC games going on, sorry, your NASCAR race, if you want it, might be on the little TV.
Yeah, and like I know that's one thing that a big reason they moved Chicagoland out of the chase, on top of it just being a big fail. And someone who goes to Chicagoland every year, everyone likes it better in the summer. But another big reason is that most of the races at Chicagoland were going on at the same time as either the Bears playing, which even though the Bears have been terrible the past few years, they still draw in a pretty big sports crowd. And then on top of that, with the Cubs being so good, there's usually a Cubs game. There's usually, I think every Chicagoland weekend since 2015, the last 3, the Cubs have had a big like homestand against a division rival like the Cardinals or Brewers. So a lot of them are being drawn there. And while Joliet is still like, I forgot how many miles away, they're pretty far away from Chicago, it still has that draw and draws away from who's watching, whether it be on TV or at the track. Same with Charlotte with the Panthers. And then, God, who else is there? There's how Atlanta used to be with the Falcons. It's just, you know, a lot of it has to come down to, like you said, who's in competition with you. And football will win.
And I mean, that's the typical, you know, what the mainstream sports journalism wants. You know, they'd rather see basketball and football being their top things, you know, and really mainstream sports journalism, I hate it because they paint NASCAR out to be this terrible, you know, racist redneck thing. And it's far from it, folks.
I remember in high school, I went to the fall 2015 Martinsville race, right? And when I came back, I had my junior sweatshirt on, and I had a hat on, and I was saying how much I love it so much down there, you know, down south compared to up here, and it's like it's such a great culture down there. And they're like, yeah, if you're racist, and I'm like, no. And they're like, well, you're a NASCAR race, it's racist. One of them had said, and it's like, I had to tell them this story, and I had heard this back in 2006. NBC sent people dressed in like Arab garbs and like Islamic people to different sporting events, whether it be Philadelphia for football or baseball games in New York. And they sent a group of them to Martinsville in 2006. Now, to remind everyone, this isn't even 5 years removed from 9/11. So that, you know, it's a lot different than it back then than it is now. And of all the places,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say it like this: if we had an Arabic race car driver suddenly come onto the scene, hey, more power to him. I'm excited to see a little bit more diversity. When I went to Atlanta, for whatever reason, it might have just been because we were closer to Atlanta, Georgia, and the population's different there. But, you know, I thought that I've seen a lot more African-American fans there for the first time at any of the races I've been to. I thought that was awesome to see. I mean, the movie Talladega Nights, you know, openly gay NASCAR driver. Even today, I think, you know, that would be – there'd be a lot of people who hate that. But at the same time, I think there'd be a lot of people, you know, still be open to that just because of the way the world's changed.
Yeah, I think NASCAR, people don't understand it, so they're going to use those. But going back really quick, of all the sporting events they went to, they were treated the best at Martinsville at that race. People were offering to buy them stuff and, you know, seeing how they were doing, asking if they were okay. While in other events, they were getting stuff thrown at them or spit on or cussed at. But it's like the only place they had no trouble whatsoever and no one was like making any comments was Martinsville, Virginia. So I don't know. It's just everyone in general, the larger like corporate people or media people or whatever who don't understand the sport are always going to paint it in a different light unless they actually are introduced to it, you know. But
I'll say it like this. The only race I care about is the one on Sunday, all right? When I was in college, I was roommates with an African-American guy for 4 years, and he became one of my best friends, all right? I mean, that's all there is to it, you know. Don't give a you know, dang about what color you are. The only thing I care about you is what kind of person you really are.
I'm actually thinking about getting a funny shirt, see if I can piss people off who get offended easily, that says, I'm not racist. I love NASCAR. I'm gonna wear that to Chicagoland this year. I think I'll wear that. But we should probably get back to this past weekend's race really quick because you said that there was something with penalty with Harvick.
Harvick's a cheater.
Yes, but
no, I mean I don't want to jump onto it like that. you know, it could come down to a lot of things. The team could have knowingly done what they did, or it could have just been a simple fabrication mistake.
Yeah, I think people when they see like, oh, this infraction found, they're immediately like, oh, they're cheating. That's why they were so fast. When it's like with this, from what it sounds like, it was just something that probably came loose during the race or some BS like that. Every time there's someone who dominates immediately, everyone says that it's like, oh, they're doing something completely different. Well, yeah, they're doing something completely different.
It's like people ragged on Martin Truex last year. And do you know who Martin Truex was just a few years back? This was a guy running. He was running mid-pack. He won a race in 2007. He won a road course race randomly with Michael Waltrip. Other than that, the man did jack crap his entire career. But then he gets in this Furniture Row experience. He makes the best out of really nothing at that time when he come onto it. They made a little bit of ground by partnering up with Richard Childers, and they said, bye Chevy, hello Toyota, hello Joe Gibbs, give us all the fun toys. And they went and they took that little tiny inch that they gave him, and they took it miles away. I was so happy to see this man finally reach his peak in his career.
Yeah, I mean, before 2015, the biggest accomplishment he had in his career was that he was the last driver to win at DEI, So it's like just sometimes teams hit it, whether it be, granted, Johnson has been caught a lot. So I don't think he'd be the best person to use as an example. But it's like teams will push the line. And I think Cole Pern and the 78 team with Truex Truex didn't get the chance to show it until he went to Furniture Row, but he's an incredible driver. It's just teams will push the line, and sometimes people find that extra little inch, and and while others can't. I mean, I don't know. But I don't think Harvick, getting back to it, I don't think Harvick was cheating. I think it was just one of those, and I think a lot more people will sort of notice it after the last few times that he's been caught before with small things, but it's nothing big. I think you said that the win was basically encumbered though, but since he has a win already, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean they didn't. They're not going to use the word because that word just makes people feel lots of anger. But basically, what I read, they took away all of the points from that race. It means nothing for his playoff standings or anything. Basically, that win was encumbered, but the Atlanta one still stands. I mean, it's different from Joey Logano last year. He's still in it.
So it's basically just a slap on the wrist at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any other things coming out of Las Vegas that are of any importance? I didn't hear much.
The truck race was great. Did you get a chance to watch that one?
I wasn't able to throughout the weekend.
It was close racing. I know Kyle Busch won and all, but it wasn't a typical Kyle Busch Truck Series when he actually had the fight for that one. And I like it. If Kyle Busch is going to be winning the Truck Series, he needs to do it more like that, where he's actually got to give it his best and actually hang on, because I mean that was some tough racing he had to go through.
I'm not a fan of Cup Series, especially the Cup package they have now at Las Vegas, but honest to God, if they could just move the trucks to the Cup Series every time they go to Las Vegas, because the trucks never disappoint at Las Vegas. I didn't get to see this one, but God, I want to see the trucks when they're on at Las Vegas. Like, yeah, I didn't this week, but the last few years I have, and I've never been disappointed. It's the same as Daytona. I wish they could just switch the cars and trucks for just Las Vegas weekends.
I'll say this in general when it comes to all kinds of simulations, iRacing, or even NASCAR Heat 2. I think the trucks are just more fun to drive in general. There's just something different about them. They got lower horsepower, more of a heavy rear end on them. I mean, they're just a better vehicle to drive, in my opinion. I think they just make for better racing in general.
They remind me of the cars in Cup and before the COT came around. They sort of seem to drive the same as those. At least that's how it looks on TV.
Well, even then, the reason I see that they take them to, they're the only ones they'll do at Eldora is, they got that big heavy rear on them, and really that's exactly like a late model or a dirt modified even. And you got to have that that big rear end to swing it around a dirt track. I mean, I think that's you're never going to see the Xfinity or Cup Series on a dirt track, but hey, I'm all for that Truck Series race every year.
Yeah, they're like the only series in NASCAR since they've been changing stuff around that has stayed consistently good. I don't think there's like, I can't remember a year when I would turn on truck races and then just be bored. I mean, I can't. No matter what track, even God, what was that one track? I'm trying to remember.
Even when Ron Hornaday won like 7 or 8 in a row in like 2009, I wasn't bored with that, honestly.
No, because the racing was good leading up to it. And I think that's something a lot of fans need to sort of move past, is that a driver can dominate a race, lead almost every lap, and it still can be a good race. The racing behind the leader, like the race does not hinge on whether the fact that there's racing for the lead the whole time or if there's a close finish. Some of the best races that I can remember at Michigan or at California or any of the other really cookie cutter tracks, the leader is like 5 seconds ahead, but there's this group of cars like from like second to eighth that are racing among each other, and that's more entertaining than watching the finish for the win half the time. I mean, it'd be better if there was closer finishes, but it doesn't.
Well, it's like that at every track. Even Bristol, I go there more often than any other track, and it's like that there. You'll have Kyle Busch be up front, and everybody else be battling for every other position.
Yeah, and the TV doesn't do it justice either. I remember, was it Jeff Gluck? He's the one that does his own thing, right? I think we talked about this last week. He does his like polls and stuff, and they did a poll on like a Dover race one year, and it's like, is this the best race of the year? And until about 40 to go, like nothing happened. There was no passing, just people going laps down and stuff. And then there was like a bunch of crashes. That was one where Jimmy Johnson like stalled at a restart and half the field crashed. It's like the last 40 laps are good, but that doesn't make a good race. It's not, that doesn't make up for the 360 laps of boredom before it.
Yep.
I think fans and media especially, because they need that for their branding. They have it that if the last 10 laps are good, the whole race is good. Kind of like Talladega. Like in 2013 or 2006, the two races that stick out to me is the racing leading up to it, 3 and 4 wide, like amazing racing, not many wrecks, and drivers doing awesome saves, but all people remember it for is the last 5 or 10 laps they went single file.
Yeah, I don't see what the point in that is. If you're going to be at a super speedway and you're going to be like that all day long, why do you want to just settle in and, for lack of a better word, be, a pussy about everything?
I'll admit it does make it a little more tense. And just because like sometimes if like your favorite driver, like because Junior was always up front for those, right? So it was like if he's in second, it's like, okay, when are they going to jump out? So maybe it's just me seeing my driver up there, but it's like I always sort of got tense wondering who's going to jump out first. I just hate when they wait till the last lap. It's like it's the most predictable thing. Leader can see it coming, and unless the second or third place guy crashes the leader, they're going to win the race. You gotta. I love those races when they're single file like that, and then somebody makes a move with like 6 or 7 to go, and you're like, oh shit! Like I didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah.
Usually from there it becomes a shit show, but whatever.
Yep. But we ain't got to worry about that until April.
Yeah. So if there's not any more stories coming out of that, I can. I was gonna go and just sort of read some of the stuff I got from the TV ratings for this past weekend, if that's cool.
Yep, we'll go through that, and then we'll start looking into Phoenix a little bit this weekend.
Okay. So I got this off Sports Media Watch, and I'm gonna be rating. So if I'm not looking at the camera or whatever, that's why. So the overnight ratings this year sank down to a 2.9 rating and only 4.7 million viewers, down 19% in ratings and 21% in viewership from last year, which earned a 3.6 with 6 million viewers. It was also down 34% in ratings and 35% in viewership from 2016's race at Las Vegas, which had a 4.4 rating and a 7.2 million viewers watching. This race a decade ago had 7.1 rating with 12.1 million viewers. And from a stretch from 2005 to 2009, all of them topped 6.0 mark on the ratings, as well as more than 10 million viewers for each of those races. This isn't only the lowest Las Vegas race in the history of any race at Las Vegas being put on TV, but on top of that is the fourth least watched race on the Fox network channel ever. Even with that, though, it was the highest rated and most watched sporting event of the weekend by a wide margin.
That's interesting. Which, I mean, this time of year, there's NASCAR is basically the only sport on. I don't think it's not quite baseball time, is it?
They're still doing like the preseason stuff.
Okay,
I just know because the Cubs have been doing good.
I'm not really much of a baseball person. We've got a minor league team here, the Smoky Bears, but that's about all I really ever see.
Well, if you need a team to root for the Cubs. They're awesome.
Well, I mean, I do like the Cubs, and mostly because the Smoky Bears are an affiliate team of them. They get, like, you know, we train some minor league players that go up there every now and again.
But yeah, I mean, the last 2 weeks they've had rain and the Olympics to blame, and the sinking in viewership doesn't go down as well. AB68 says this doesn't count the people who watch on DVR or streaming. I'm going to get into that a bit later. I went on a long tangent last week of why NASCAR needs to go into streaming because overall TV is dying. But NASCAR, compared to the other sports, is just it's sinking a lot faster than others, even when you don't count DVR and streaming. Compared, like NFL was down this year. It was only down like 10% compared to NASCAR, which this has been the best race of the year decline-wise, and it was a 19% decline. So,
yeah, see, I'm not sure if they are factoring in the people who are watching on streaming devices. Because when I watch races, when I watch things that happen on Fox Sports 1, I have I have two things I can watch on. I have the Fox Sports app. That's how I watch all the races. And I have the NBC Sports app. That's how I watch the races. But I also have Sling TV. Now, when I do that, you know, I pay for my internet each month, and then I only pay like $25, and I get 50 channels I can watch on Sling TV. That's a whole lot cheaper than signing up for a cable and internet package.
I think they count like the apps and different affiliates, like different TV services that use the apps, and most of the time they don't get much more than 50,000 people on them. So
see, that's surprising living in the world that we're at today, but
I think it's because, I mean, I'm going to say the average age of a NASCAR fan when surveyed, because they do like the big giant surveys for different fans and average age and people who buy tickets and whatnot. But like the average age of a NASCAR fan is like late 50s, early 60s. It's like a decade older than the next closest sport, over a decade older than the next closest sport with baseball, because I think they're at 47 is their average age. But NASCAR's audience is the few older diehards left. Then there's like a few of us that are younger, but they struggle immensely picking up younger fans.
But you see, that's interesting because, you know, you got the older people who are slowly being phased out of the sport, either that, you know, they're mad because this ain't the days of my Dale Earnhardt, or it's, you know, just them, you know, some of them just, you know, passing away, and some of them just, you know, just losing interest in general in it. But then you say that, you know, there's not a lot of young people who watch it, but I'm looking at here right now, Double E Dud, Eric Estep, he has a great YouTube channel for NASCAR fans, one that is a true inspiration to me. I watch it a lot and get a lot of good inspiration for making my content on my channel. He's got 61,000 subscribers right now for making videos very similar to what me and you make.
I think if compared to us, like, because he's one of the leading ones, if not
he's been around for a long time doing this, and yeah. I mean, I think with more years for us to get experience, we might have potential to be with his level at some point. But, you know, people like him and David Land, they've been doing this for a long time. So, you know, that's why they're leading so much. But, you know, it's great to see people like us, like them, that are trying to showcase how cool of a sport this really can be for people our age, you know?
I see where you're coming from with that too. And but one thing is, like, the way I see it is like amongst NASCAR channels, like he's doing amazing. But if you look compared to other channels that cover like whether it just be like football or just sports in general, it's like it's such it's small in comparison. Like there's this channel I follow called Urinating Tree. Dude's hysterical. You know, he's done some NASCAR videos too. He cares about NASCAR, and has covered it in like 4 of his like 50 videos. But he got like 100,000 subs in like a year. You know, I mean, there's sort of while there's young people watching, it's sort of, how do I say this? It's not the draw that it used to be. Like back in 2004, you know, NASCAR was a huge draw for everything. Their younger people were watching. It was something like almost fashionable as a cult following for people to be in, but it's not like that very long. And it's you know, nowadays it's seen as sort of like a window back to like an older time viewing wise. And NASCAR has sort of, as a sanctioning body and as broadcasting wise, has sort of kept itself stuck in 2004 with how it views stuff.
You want to know what I think on that kind of subject right there? People within the 2004, like, you know, I was a kid during that time. You were a kid during that time. You want to know what I think was a big contributor to a lot of people of our age group who started like NASCAR?
What?
The video game selection we had for NASCAR back then.
Yes.
Then we had a lot. We had a lot more options. We had a lot better gaming experience, I think. I know it wasn't on these newer consoles or.
I hate the newer ones. I like the old Xbox better than any of them.
It wasn't, you know, it wasn't on the, you know, the newer consoles that had the better graphics, but we had better gameplay experiences, in my opinion. Like NASCAR 2004, NASCAR 2005 for EA Sports, Papyrus's NASCAR Racing 2003. Those games were awesome, in my opinion. Those were fantastic games back then, and that really helped us relate more to this sport because, you know, that age is when the video game kids started to rise up, and it gave us more of a chance to relate to NASCAR. And honestly, when you start playing the games like you enjoy, us kids, we started to want to watch it more often.
Yeah, I honestly, if you look compared to the newer games and stuff, I'll play Inside Line or Heat, you know, and Evolution, whatever, but I could honestly spend all day playing a 500-mile race at Atlanta on NASCAR Thunder 2004. Like that the AI back then was perfect. And what's funny is like it seems like nowadays they're trying to make it more, it's like, oh look, it looks good, but it doesn't, you know, play as good as the old ones did. And it's like, you know, the graphics might suck on those older ones, but God, that the racing and the way the cars act are a lot more realistic on a game from 2003 than one from, say, 2018.
Papyrus's NASCAR Racing 2003, whether you got it, whether you bought it or whether you torrented it, is still one of the most popular NASCAR games, period, because they keep modding it and they give people more and more mods they can play with, more and more cars they can play with. I know a very active groups of people who race full-time leagues every single year with that same game from 2003 just because of the quality of it back then. But now these kids today, you know, they don't get the same. You know, NASCAR Heat 2, it's okay, I guess, because it's all that there is on the market right now. But you're not like it's I don't know if the NASCAR video games, other than, you know, iRacing, but iRacing is not even a game. You know, you've got to be a genius to be able to be good on that. I have no clue how to set up my cars on that. I'm pointless trying to play it whenever I do it. But you know, back then, you know, people could get on, you know, the EA Sports games and truly have a challenging yet fun experience at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some of the and maybe this is because I'm not very good with games or simulators or whatever, but I'm still not very good at some of the road courses on those older games compared to now. When the first time I played Inside Line, I crashed every time, and it wasn't because I was bad at it. It's because the AI was just bad. I think that's the thing too, is as gamers have gotten away from single player modes and stuff, and are just doing stuff online, it sort of takes away that experience. Because like if you're online and say you're just with some random people, it's like you could be the only person trying to do anything while everyone else is just trying to crash you. Or there's channels that literally have been built on trolling NASCAR fans on NASCAR games.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I mean, that's not playing the game. That's just amusing yourself at that point.
I'm cool with trolling, but it sometimes gets to the point where it's like, listen, you've screwed with the same people or whatever. You know, people are just done playing the game because of you. You know, it's like there's a limit. There's limits to everything. There's good limits to everything and bad limits to everything. You know, and not I think people like, because with me, I hate online stuff because maybe the person's way better than me, or most of the time people are just awful. Whereas if I can have a good AI against me, like in 2004 games,
Yeah.
like it makes it that much more fun.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. Like, I like one of the things I like to do when I do play NASCAR Heat 2 is just turning it on. I like to do the truck series and do 50 to 100% races on that. Just sit down and run the AI up as high as it'll go to, and just go to a track like Gateway or Bristol or Eldora and just, enjoy the AI experience. But then there's some tracks where the AI does not run smart. Like Charlotte is the worst AI experience in that game, in my opinion.
I can't play Charlotte or Atlanta on any of these newer ones just because the AI is bad. The way the cars are way too slick on the tracks is bad. It's just here's a question. When was the last time that a game came out, a NASCAR game came out, and you thought it was just, this game is good? Like for me, it was 2007.
For me, and I guess I'll say this because I went from NASCAR 09 on the PlayStation 2 to suddenly NASCAR the game 2011 on the PlayStation 3. That game, looking back, had its problems, but at the same time, it was a fun experience to me. What I really loved in that game was the super speedway racing experience. Now, when it came to that time period, we had the two-car tandem. That game perfectly executed two-car tandem racing. I mean, literally, I could put it in a certain view where I'm like looking either in the first-person view or I'm looking off the roof view, and literally, as long as I got my car locked up on the back bumper, which those cars were perfect to do, as long as I got my car locked up on the back bumper of somebody, it didn't matter who it was, we were going to go to the front and we were going to be the dominant cars in that race.
Yeah. I remember I got that because I was really hyped for that game, and it's like you can do that too, but it's like I noticed that I tried where it was just me, and just me with my own car. Even with people doing two-car tandem, I was killing them even on the hardest mode, and I don't know how to explain it. It's just not that there's not that it factor to make these games anymore to be as immersive. Like there'd be the old there'd be the career mode where you do 20 years of a career. Then there was like you could set up your own chase and 10 race chase races and do that, or have a fight to the top mode and go from the modifieds all the way up to the cup. And now it's like they have basically a season mode as your career mode. I don't know about the two new ones yet, but
there are rumors, and these are just rumors, but there are rumors that for NASCAR Heat 3, and the reason this has been circulating is because shortly after the release of NASCAR Heat 2, the guy who's in charge of it, he tweeted something out where he was at the Charlotte Motor Speedway dirt track. Now, I don't know if he has anything at all to do with iRacing. They recently announced that they were releasing the Charlotte Motor Speedway dirt track. I don't think he has anything to do with them at all. So that wouldn't really make any sense. But there are rumors that they could set it up where you start off instead of just like with NASCAR Heat 2, that career mode just says, hey, you're from a short track racing experience, and now suddenly you've got a chance to make it in the truck series. There's rumors they might actually have a true mode where you're racing like in like a dirt track setup or like a K&N setup or something smaller like that at first.
That'd be interesting. I hope they just base it off of the old ones. That's basically what people have been saying. It's kind of like the Star Wars Battlefront franchise. People are just it's funny looking through forums and stuff for each of these because they're so similar to where it's basically just do what you did 15 years ago and don't fuck it up.
Yep.
Like that's all it is. It's like you have it, just update the graphics a little bit, don't mess with it. And it seems like these games, all they want to do is, oh, okay, we'll give you that, but with this twist, or oh, we'll give you that, but you got to buy this instead, and it's not as, you know, it's like these. It's almost like they're afraid, you know.
Like, can I go back to the 2005 career mode? That was the best. You know what you did? You started off. Ace Moneymaker was your agent. He signs you up for this modified ride after you beat Ryan Newman in the freaking streets of New York City for some reason, in a Corvette, which was still fun, even though it makes zero sense. It was still fun. I mean, where's the police? That they should be showing up to arrest us both at that point. But either way. That happens, and then you become a NASCAR modified series driver, and then you get into trucks, you get into Busch series, but during those times you're running for the most random teams, and even then in your first Cup series rides you're in a random team, and suddenly boom, you're in Jeff Gordon's car. Jeff Gordon's retired, you're in a 24, you run a few seasons with that, and you start owning your own truck series and your own Busch series teams and your own modified teams. Ty Sheets is winning championships for you in the lower series, and all of a sudden you now own your own team. I had the number 4 Levi Strauss signature was my longtime sponsor with the team. They stayed around forever, and I owned this team for like 20 years. I took years off where I only ran the All-Star race. I ran a truck series after I had won like 4 or 5 Cup Series championships. You know, it was like dang, I missed that kind of career mode. It was weird. You were selling merchandise. You were selling shit. You were selling shirts. You were selling die-casts of your cars. It was a true, authentic career mode for a console video game, in my opinion. But then it just became the whole, hey, here's your car. Go race.
Yeah, and what I liked about those games is that they took chances. Like, because the let's be honest, the NASCAR formula with games, it gets stale after a while. Even if it's a game you really like, it's the same, you know, it can be the same thing. So you have like a 20-year career mode in 04, or you have a career mode like that in 05 and fight to the top in 06. You have where you can change to different cars and have all your team up front, or it like tracks how good you do or how clean of a driver you are, allies, rivals. And it's like now it's like I'm just a demolition derby through the field and it won't matter moving on.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to a NASCAR career mode, you want it to be something fun and authentic where you're, getting a fair mix of the background stuff that goes on as well as the the racing. Shoot, in 2005, they kept throwing out autograph session modes. Now that was fun. You had to hit certain buttons to sign your autographs, but that was a fun balance. But you don't want it to be like such a really, really authentic experience that's boring, like NFL head coach. I mean, that was a boring video game series. You literally were in the office majority of the time, and then when it came to the games, you literally just watched a computer play Madden, basically, and you called plays. That was it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, where it's either you need to be either so simple that everyone knows exactly what they're going to get, or you need to take chances on something without like adding in, oh, you need to like buy something extra to get this, or it's like, oh, you win a pin that you can do nothing with,
I'll say this, 704 Games, if you want to improve your NASCAR video games by just a little bit, give me some freaking victory burnouts.
Oh, they still haven't got those back?
Nope.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things, and that was actually I completely destroyed the first time I won a race in a career mode. I completely destroyed the engine because I just wanted to keep doing a burnout the whole time because it was a challenge. Like cause I know I keep going back to the 2004 one, but it's like you'd start out with this horrible team and you would have to slowly win new sponsorships that are better, or get, buy new things with the money those sponsors gave you. So by the time you get your first win, whether it be a fuel mileage race or whether, you actually do go out and beat them, you actually felt like you accomplished something with it. Yeah. And I think it made people sort of, especially younger people, understand it's like, wow, it's like maybe if it's this hard in a video game, wonder how it like actually takes this much in real life. Holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between what they're putting out now and compared to something like iRacing. iRacing will kick your butt if you've never experienced anything close to that.
Because it's a pure simulator, whereas like these other ones that were really good but still simulated it a little bit. That I think they were called like simcades, people would call them. They're like a mix between simulator and arcade. And it was like that perfect stepping stone into something new, you know?
Yeah.
AB68 again. My burnout way was to pick up speed and then spin and do a burnout from there.
You know what I did? I threw the car in reverse and floored it all the way until I got to where my wind flaps would come up, and I'd suddenly throw it back and then start doing the burnout after that.
I do that a lot too. I would always try. Do you remember that race at Chicago Dale Jr. won where he went up against the wall and just burned the back tires?
Yeah.
I tried doing that, and I've tried it so many times, and I only got it once to where there was this huge billowing smoke before I finally blew my engine.
Now, I have done it pretty similar to, I guess you could call this more of a Jimmy Johnson style. I know he's done this at Bristol where he just puts it up to he puts the front of the car up and he just starts doing it. I've done that before, but never really done it like going backwards or anything. Now, one thing I have done that's pretty hard to do is do what Kurt Busch used to do and literally drive backwards for a lap.
Oh, I tried that. That took way too much effort than I was willing to give at that point. One of the funniest things I ever did with one of those is I ended up flipping out over my car. As I said, yeah, I like went, it was, I think, Atlanta. I went trying to spin through the grass really fast, like AB68. And I ended up, because they have the little like mini track inside it. And it caught that, started spinning, and sort of bounced up. And as soon as it hit the grass, it just flipped over and went on its roof. I'm like, well, now what? What do I do now?
Well, get a tow truck, bring all that mess to Victory Lane, guys.
Yeah. I feel like this is sort of dipped now until we're just being nostalgic about old video games we played 15 years ago.
I mean, that's not a bad thing.
No.
We talk a lot about Las Vegas, and this is, there's people who can probably relate to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, we need a little pick me up from the dismal TV ratings.
Yeah, but hey, let's move on to Phoenix this weekend.
All right, or as is now known as the ISM Speedway, because we needed a new name.
It's always Phoenix to me, and this is the last one under this current configuration. When we come back in the fall, it'll be different.
Yep, and the stuff I got down here is it will be this Sunday, March 11th. The time of all the stuff starting up, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Green flag is approximately 3:44 Eastern time, which I always hate some of the West Coast races just for the fact that I have to wait longer for it. It's like I like the ones where I can just get up at noon and just like sit on my phone for a bit and then go out and watch it. But anyway,
I mean, that's fine. That's fine with me waiting because the night before I'm going to place an hour away from here, Corbin, Kentucky, to watch WWE up there. So I'll be getting home late from that. So I'm fine if it's a little bit later.
But that's a good point. You can do stuff on Saturday nights, not have to worry.
Yeah.
All right. TV, it'll be on Fox, the official broadcast one. I think that after this, there's Auto Club, and then they do start like 2 or 3 on FS1. So one of the last few on Fox before they do that for a bit.
I think that's so stupid that the corporate people of Fox have pushed NASCAR down so far they won't even put it on their main channel anymore.
Well, the funny thing is, it's their highest rated sport other than like NFL and baseball. Like if you look at FS1's highest rated programs ever, it's all NASCAR races, especially Martinsville. Let's see. If you need to listen to it on the radio, MRN. 312 laps. There are 37 cars entered, so nobody is going home. The race is called the Ticket Guardian 500. I don't know if that's
And they've already got the trophy plate and check wrote out to Kevin Harvick. It's ready to go.
Yes. That was actually sort of my pick. We'll go from there when we get to picks. Yeah. Stages, 75 laps for the first, 75 laps for the second, then the last 162 laps sprint like the normal races used to be. Weather forecast. Cloudy, 20% chance of rain, a high of 79, a low of 61, and a jealous me. So, what do we think is going to happen?
Well, we kind of mentioned this earlier. I think Kevin Harvick's going to be a dominant car. He probably dreams about Phoenix because he's that good at it. He knows exactly how to run it. There was a stretch where he won like 4 races in a row there from like 2014 to 2016, I think.
I know how every other fan now felt when Dale Jr. dominated at Talladega or Jimmy Johnson at Lowe's. Oh, I know now how all those fans felt for those years.
Or me when it comes to going to Bristol and Kyle Busch wins every other race for me.
That's just a whole nother level of that sucks.
Yeah.
In terms of racing, it's going to be the same as it's been the last few years. Phoenix never has really been built to be a side-by-side all-race kind of track, and it's too big to be like a traditional short track where you can hit each other. It's like that horrible middle ground where you can't race side-by-side because you're not, just because of the line. It's like a short track in that regard, but it's too fast. It's fast enough that it has too much dependence on aerodynamics. It's like that horrible middle ground that like Phoenix and New Hampshire and Dover have all found themselves in at this point with this configuration of car. Yeah.
I'll say this. There's a few drivers. We talk about Kevin Harvick obviously having statistically probably the best chance, but he didn't win either of the races there last year. Ryan Newman won the spring, and Matt Kenseth. Yeah, fluke. Matt Kenseth no longer racing. He won it in the fall, and who was close to winning it and fell short a little bit and finished second?
Is it Chase Elliott?
Yep, it was Chase Elliott. So his name is up there and people to watch, obviously.
I just remember because he was up there and he took Hamlin out.
He got his payback from Martinsville. That's plain and simple.
I've said it before. Just because of how he acts towards the fans and towards people in general, I'm not a big Denny Hamlin fan. I think the fame has went all the way.
Unless you're actually involved in NASCAR, you don't get to count down to Daytona, boy.
Well, I guess due to the Las Vegas TV ratings and all the other TV ratings, a lot of people stopped counting down till Daytona. Thanks, Denny.
A lot of people listen to you, Denny. Thanks.
Good job. Yeah. If I already like Chase Elliott just because I think he's sort of a cool, chill dude. But once he sort of became Denny Hamlin's biggest rival, I started liking him a lot more for that.
I think that particular incident. I bring up wrestling too much because I like it, but in terms of that, you have baby faces and you have heels. Your heels are your bad guys. Your baby faces are your good guys. And they have certain moments where they clearly define who you are. They have moments where it's called a heel turn or a face turn. Martinsville was a big face and heel turn in NASCAR. Like Denny became a big heel in NASCAR, and Chase became the true baby face of NASCAR. Everyone really got behind him after Martinsville.
And again, this is why we need more short tracks. We need at least 2 more short tracks on the schedule.
I mean, I'm just saying, reopen Rockingham.
Or, if someone can scrounge up enough money, get Wilkesboro back, or even build a new one. Just build a new one somewhere.
If we're going to reopen any big tracks, can we please bring back Nashville and actually put some Cup Series races in there?
Yeah, or hell, I mean, they haven't had as many good races recently, but Iowa, they still put on good races and still have the ability to.
How does Iowa not have a Cup Day yet? I mean,
I know that one of the bigger companies bought it from Rusty Wallace recently, so I think they're planning on bringing it.
You know what I could see?
What?
I could see Pocono losing a date because those 2 dates are so close to each other anyways that I could see Iowa getting one of them.
And the big thing is they're independently owned. It's not like it's not like when people say, oh, they need to take one of the Kansas races off, which I think they should, because they don't have to compete with one of the bigger companies. Where with Pocono, it's like the Pocono races basically make up that track's economy. Like Grant, they have, IndyCar comes there and stuff, but they don't draw a huge crowd. Whereas, Pocono is the perfect candidate, like how New Hampshire was, where New Hampshire is just sort of at the mercy of Bruton Smith, and they're not making money, just like Pocono isn't making good races or money. And I could totally see after this, because I think they did like a 5-year deal or something recently where like the tracks are solidified through 2021, which I groaned at because the schedule needs a complete revamp. But Pocono is probably the track they're going to take off. Either Pocono or maybe one of the road courses, but nobody is going to want the road courses taken off.
I wouldn't say the road course going away. The two I could see logically would be Pocono or Michigan, because their 2 dates are so close to each other from when they have it.
Well, and like I love going to Michigan, and I think their biggest draw is the Father's Day race. Like the fact that NASCAR keeps taking races or bye weeks on Father's Day, it really hurts that track. Because like I went there in 2006, 2007, 11, 12, 13, and 16, right?
Yeah.
And no matter how much this crowd has shrunk in size, the Father's Day Michigan race is always the one that more people are watching, both at the track and on TV. It's the one that everyone thinks of. So I could, and really Michigan after the repave, as big of a Dale Jr. fan as I am, as much as I loved being at the race he won, it's like if you look at it just from a pure side-by-side racing standpoint, it's been pretty dull, especially the last few years. I honestly think the last 2 or 3 years, the racing at Michigan has been worse than right after it got repaved.
It's just been the Kyle Larson show.
Kyle Larson show, and then even before that, it's just like even after the repave, it was side by side, and now it's just single file all the time.
I'll say this: 2016 when Larson won, that was a pretty exciting one because it come down between him and Elliott. Either one of them was going to get their first win in that one.
I remember in 2016 when I was at the Father's Day one, and I was so pissed because I wanted to see Elliott's first win in person. And at this point, I still might get the chance because it seems like, everything, even a meteor could hit his car at this point.
Well, hey, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I was at the Martinsville race, and I'm pretty sure that was a lot worse than what you saw.
No, yeah, but I was just pissed because the caution came out late, and he was running away with it. But it's just, I don't know. I love Michigan, but it's sort of like the rest of the sport, aside from a few other tracks, is that it's just sort of lost that it factor. Like there's some tracks that have like still have it where it's like you've got to watch. The plate tracks you always got to watch. Martinsville you have to watch. I don't know about Bristol as much, but the road courses you got to watch.
Bristol has changed in a bad way, and I'll say that I've been going there for a long, long time. Still going in spring, but for this year they took away one of New Hampshire's dates, and quite honestly, that one was, they were really considering taking away Bristol's fall date and changing the spring one to the night race. That was a actual consideration.
That would be it. Even with as bad as Bristol's been, I think that'd be a horrible decision just because, like, even with bad racing, that fall Bristol race, it's one of those, it's not like the 500, the 600, the Southern 500, but it's one of those main races where people are like, holy crap, we won the Bristol night race.
They weren't going to get rid of the night race, but they were considering just moving it away from that date and just having one weekend.
I think they should have one weekend, get rid of the spring date, because the spring date, just for the last like 5 years, it's been either weather or horrible racing, and nobody shows up anymore. I mean, it was a ghost town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't, I don't, they completely butchered that track. And it's like, I know we complained and we didn't like it back in like 2012, 2011, when it was like 3 different lines and stuff, but it's a hell of a lot better than what we have now. We've only had probably one good race with this high side, and that was the first one in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want my demolition derby on the bottom done.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2009 was the last good year for Bristol.
Oh yeah, that race between Kyle Busch and Martin, and they had all the big ones, and it's like even though they still use different lines, it was that I think that was like the day that that next race in 2010 is pretty much the day Bristol died.
Really, all the races they had period in 2009 was great. Well, up to the spring of 2010, I'll say that up to the spring of 2010, from 2009 to 2010, it was a very unique people who won because in the 2009 spring weekend and the Nationwide Series, Kevin Harvick won his first race as an owner driver, and then 2009 Cup Series race, I think Bush won. I'm pretty sure. Then
Kyle Busch, I think. Well, I think Kyle Busch won one of those. I'm not sure. They all blend together at that point.
Yeah.
You know, Kurt Busch won one of them, and Kyle Busch won a bunch of them. Johnson did.
Jeff Burton randomly won in 2008.
Yeah, Childress went 1, 2, 3 that race.
Yeah.
I remember because that was 2 years in a row where like Denny Hamlin and Tony Stewart had problems after dominating the whole day.
Yeah. David Reagan won the 2009 Nationwide Series race.
Damn. Back when he was good or better?
Yeah, back when he was on the number 6 discount tire Ford. And then Justin Allgaier got his first win in that number 12 Verizon Wireless Dodge back in 2010 in Nationwide Series. I was there for that one. And
I remember that one because that was back when they used the cars that were like the old Cup cars.
Yeah, I still miss those. I still miss those styles for the Nationwide Series and stuff. I kind of wish they would still have those styles, but you learn to adapt in NASCAR.
I wish they'd go back to those kind of styles, but put as many of the keep all the safety aspects because you don't want obviously you don't want to go back all the way and just have like people getting killed, but have like get back to as close aerodynamically as you can to back then and power and everything. It's like between the way the cars race and how it's broadcast on TV, and then on top of that, what was I gonna say? The sound, even the sound is different. It doesn't have that same sound that people really like. So I remember at the old the plate tracks, and they'd go by, they had that specific kind of roar from like the 90s through about 2007, maybe 2008 too.
Yeah, they had great sound back then.
It was like that period of time. I know people all look back at it nostalgically, but just if you look at it, just take all bias aside, everything in that time came together perfectly for the sport, and ever since they've been trying to recapture that. So I think they need to, if anything, figure out how to configure everything in the car so it sounds like it did back then. If you do that, I might even get interested just for hearing that.
Well, we went off on a tangent about nostalgia video games. We could get on another tangent of nostalgia sounds,
We should just do a nostalgia stream, honestly. Make that our bi-week stream.
Yeah. Hey, guys, welcome to Nostalgia Racing. Today, we're going to be talking about the 1993 season. We weren't even born.
You know what the best season I ever watched was? 1982. Damn, it was 15 years before I was born, but you know what? It was one hell of a season to watch on YouTube over a day and a half. We probably should get a little back to it. Why don't we do picks? Who's your pick this weekend?
Yeah, I didn't even get a chance to go through all the people I really thought would be good for Phoenix. So I'll go for it real fast. Four people that I want to watch this weekend. Kevin Harvick, on a 2-race winning streak, huge favorite for Phoenix. Alex Bowman went very, very, very good in his first race there in the 88 car. Went on the pole position, led for 200 laps, and looked like the car to beat. Something happened, he lost a little bit. Hey, that's rookie mistake in a place that he wasn't used to being at. Up there in the lead. But now, that's his home track. He's from Arizona. He's going to be my dark horse to go out and win that race. And then Chase Elliott finished second there to Matt Kenseth, who's no longer racing. Chase Elliott, eager to go ahead and get that first win. He'll be a guy to watch in this one. And then Eric Jones, because he's in that number 20 car, and they won last time here in the fall. So Eric Jones could potentially be one to watch. But out of those four, I mean, I'm kind of dumb for not going with him, but I don't quite see Harvick winning 3 in a row. Honestly, I think he's going to run good. I kind of still think Bowman might be my favorite to watch in this one. I mean, I know it's kind of biased me being a fan of his, but I think Bowman might be ready to capitalize on the mistakes he made back in 2016 and get some redemption on that place.
I think he'll maybe be top 5, top 10, but I like the last few weeks. I'm sort of playing it safe with my picks. I'm going with Harvick just because it's at this point it's hard to bet against him for me.
Yeah,
we should keep track of our picks, right? Like a fantasy league, and then just like add however many points they get, and at the end of the year, see who like statistically got the better ones.
I would do that, but I got so many fantasy things that is. I've got my prediction videos, which is entirely different predictions of what I end up going with on the actual weekend. I do the NASCAR Fantasy Live thing on my phone, and then me and my fiance, her brother, and her dad, we all have our own little individual league, and so we've got 4 people involved in that, and we keep up with our predictions each week, and the way we do it is if you pick somebody and they get a stage point, you get 1 point. So you have the potential to get 2 stage points with them. If that person you pick wins, you get 3 more points. So that could potentially be 5 points you get. If that person doesn't win, but or get any other points, but your favorite driver who you did not pick, like in my case, I could pick Martin Truex Jr., but my favorite is Alex Bowman. If Bowman won and I didn't pick him, I would get 2 points. So we've got this whole unique system. And at the end of the year, we don't do a playoff format. We just do it all throughout the whole year. But at the end of it, we have our winner at the end of it. And as of right now, my fiance's dad, he's picked Harvick the last 2 weeks, and obviously he has 9 points in our league right now. And I won our league last year when it was just me, her, and her brother. I had 27 points, and he's already got 9 3 races into it. So he's looking like the favorite in our little fantasy league.
See, I've thought about joining a racing fantasy league. It's just my thing is it's like I do fantasy football, right? And Grant, that's a lot shorter, but it's like through the season, there just comes a point where I'm just like, screw it. I'll just put in the same lineup. It's like if I'm not completely destroying everybody, I mean, I'm doing horrible. So I completely fall off with it about halfway through the year. I like just doing individual picks, but it sounds fun, and I've heard you can win money with it too. So that's
there's some way where you can somehow win, but I don't really know. I'm probably not going to say a single cent. Well, other than our little family thing, because we do like everyone will throw in $5, so whoever wins at the end could win $20, and hey, that's hey, $20.
David Cunningham put in, so does Johnson not win again until his 3 teammates do? I'll be honest, other than Elliott, and this is just my take on it. I know you have a different take, obviously, with Bowman. I don't see anyone other than Elliott winning from Hendrick this year unless Johnson gets his shit together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to think like that either, but now – even in my predictions video, the one race I predicted him to win, he didn't win it. This could potentially be the first year that he goes winless. He's never had a season where he hasn't won at least 2 races. If things don't change really fast or throughout the year, this might be the year he goes winless.
Now, if he does win and stuff, people are gonna look back at this stream and just start calling us. They'll start calling us Chicken Little. This guy is falling. He had 3 bad races.
The NASCAR is the most unpredictable sport to even think about what could happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
we could be looking right now at Kevin Harvick thinking, oh my gosh, he's Superman. Watch out! And then he might not even be a factor later on in the year.
Well, I remember in 2014, up through like the second Dover race, I was watching on TV, and I'm like, oh, this year's championship, it's like they might not be doing good right now, but it's like this year's championship is totally coming down between Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr.
2014 was Dale Jr.'s last great year, but
I think 15 too. He had like 16 top fives that year. It was like incredible. It's
funny. 2014 could have gone so much differently for Dale Jr. if a few things happened. You know, if frogs had wings, they wouldn't be bouncing their butts off the ground. But in that year, 2014 at Talladega, he needed to win that race. Jamie McMurray won it because of a caution that happened. But Dale Jr. was in second, really close to making that move and getting the win. And if he could have won that one, obviously he won Martinsville. And if he would have won Martinsville, he would have been in the championship 4 that year.
Yeah, and then same with 2015. Does the caution, you know, because I still think he was ahead of Logano that one, but say the caution comes out 3 seconds later, Junior wins Phoenix. You're looking at Junior instead of like I want to say it was Kyle. I think it was Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick, one of those two. It's Junior instead in the Final Four, and then yeah, he crashed, but just like in 2014, I think Junior, if he's in the Final Four or if Gordon's in the Final Four, these people race differently. You know, that's one criticism I get for my video about what the chase didn't exist. And it's one thing that I figured people would just imply, but is that people would race differently. And it's true. And I mean, you look back and there's like 1 or 2 drivers each season where if one thing is different or 2 things are different, this driver is either competing for or winning the championship. In those years, it was Junior and Gordon.
Yeah, I just found out I had my years wrong. It was actually 2013 that McMurray won it. So, and dang, that's hard to believe. That was his last. That was his last win. What year did he win the All-Star race? 2013 or 2014?
Oh God, I can't even remember.
Either way, either that Talladega race or the All-Star race, depending on what year it was. That's how long it's been since McMurray's won. That's shocking when you see the way Kyle Larson's running. It's so weird that Larson can be better, but McMurray in the same equipment is still struggling a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say struggling because obviously he made the playoffs last year. McMurray was in the playoffs, but because he's always consistently there, but he's not in contention to win races like he was a few years back.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, McMurray, he's been in the sport full time now. This is his 15th year. So he's not he looks younger, but he's not really a young guy either. So maybe he's fallen off too. I mean, he really hasn't peaked much more than 10th in points or anything. But I mean, you look at 2004, if he makes the chase, he's right up there fighting for the championship, points wise. Yeah. So I mean,
I think it's just really sad because we keep saying this year after year, and it's just it's just becoming more and more realistic that we're about to see more of these veterans starting to retire off, and we talked about this last week. I think as of now, Tyler Reddick could be the leader for 48 when Johnson's done. And potentially, John Hunter Nemechek could get that 1 car in a few years when McMurray decides to hang it up. And Cole Custer, I really would not be surprised if he's in that 41 next year.
Yeah, and one thing with all these veterans retiring and really popular drivers is for years, NASCAR just built itself on, pushing Dale Jr. forward. And then he leaves, and you have this lost identity, this, little complex here that they're in. And that's one reason I almost don't want Chase Elliott to win most popular driver because NASCAR He will. But NASCAR could fall into that trap again of 15 years pushing a guy who I think Chase Elliott is immensely talented. I don't think he's, a Jimmy Johnson type or even a Kyle Busch. He's an incredibly talented driver with a great team, but I just don't want NASCAR falling into that same trap of pushing someone because of their name at first. Granted, Junior grew into it, and I think Elliott will too, and showing their actual personality. But, people rip on him for popularity all the time, but we can be honest here, even being Junior fans. If Dale Jr.'s last name is Smith, he's not the most popular driver, and he would even say that. And
Yeah.
I don't want NASCAR, just for the health of the sport, pushing someone just because it's like, well, you liked his dad. I like Elliott because of the person he is, you know. And I
Yeah.
think that they might fall into that instead of pushing a multiple amount of drivers. I think they should be pushing. I think Elliott should be one of them being pushed because he's a good young driver. But I also think guys like Larson, Suarez, who are some of the other ones? Byron, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney. It's like you have this immense amount of young talent and people who are interesting people to listen to and see. It's like I don't think that they should be focusing on one guy like other sports do. They can.
We might get into a period where we don't actually see the same driver winning most popular year after year. Like we might actually have a year where Elliott gets it this year, but maybe Bubba Wallace gets it the year after that. I mean, I'm not opposed to voting for different drivers to be most popular, in my opinion.
Yeah, me either. I would like to see that just so that because nothing against Bill Elliott or Richard Petty or Dale Jr., but it's like when you have the perennial favorite and stuff, it sort of takes that hit for everyone else's fans out of it. Whereas, like, say you're switching around every year, say Bubba wins it, or Elliott, or Blaney, or Suarez. It's like you've got this sort of revolving door, and it's sort of more prestigious to those people's fans, and other people, it gets them to want to vote for it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to say something very, very controversial here.
I'm
But
here.
if this is my opinion, if Dale Earnhardt Sr. hadn't died in 2001, I'm not so sure that Dale Jr. would have been most popular for all those years. I mean, he would have been very popular, obviously, because he wasn't a bad driver. He still won a lot, and I still think he would have won a lot. Maybe he would have won more if he had had his dad there with him. But in all honesty, people realize what they lost in 2001, and it's like that was what they had to cling on to, the memories, and that's what they had to carry them after such a bad heartbreak. I honestly think that if that hadn't happened, the popularity would have still been there, but maybe not as big as what it really was.
I think it would have been kind of like Elliott is now, where it's you kind of know he's going to be the most popular one, but at the same time, like I like I said, he's probably going to be, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, it's like he could not be. Like there's still an outside chance of that happening. Whereas with Junior, even in 2002, Junior wasn't voted most popular until Elliott retired. So
Yeah.
maybe it's the same thing with Elliott with Junior. They're gonna have to rename it at some point, the Earnhardt Elliott Award or something, because that's what it's gonna turn into for like a 45 year span.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much covered everything for the race coming up.
Yeah, and we kind of went off topic, but yeah, you got Harvick, and then back in my mind, I do too. But I mean, I don't know. I think lightning can't strike too many times.
Yeah, I do want to bring up one story really quick. So earlier this week, Matt DiBenedetto tweeted out about how they weren't going to have sponsorship for the week. And I know I just badmouthed Denny Hamlin like a half hour ago, but Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and a bunch of other drivers and fans all like help donate and fund, and to the point that they've garnered enough money over the last few days that DiBenedetto has sponsorship for the weekend. So
yeah, I've been following that story as well, and what's his name? Brent Powell, I think is his name. He's the owner of PlanBSales.com, a very popular NASCAR diecast distributor. And he actually proposed an idea in a Facebook group for NASCAR diecast, suggesting that if people got together and they got a bunch of people to pay $100 a person to get their name put onto a car that would also have, the Plan B Sales wrap, and then people would get a diecast out of it, that it would be a great way to get him sponsorship, but also, be a great experience for the fans. I was all for that. If they really want to carry forward with that, then sign me up. I'll easily give $100 for something like that.
totally. I mean, well, I remember how excited I was. My name was on the car for Junior at Talladega. I remember how excited I was for that, and I could totally see people maybe as like a birthday present for a kid watching.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'm reading a comment here. He said, "Matt DeBena, GoFundMe. K, thanks, bye."
That'll be the next nickname after D Burrito.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally see that being like a kid's like, and like maybe you do it like $50 for kids or something. Just be like a Christmas present or a birthday present, or then like, oh, you know, you're going to this race, and on like just for maybe someone else, and on top of that, your name is going to be on one of the cars.
Yeah.
And then have like a like sort of well, like a bidding war basically for different sections of it, like the hood or the sides of it or on the roof. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, AB68 was on Denny Hamlin's Autism Speaks car in 2014. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is awesome that you got to be part of that. And I've got to be part of several of Dale Jr.'s cars before, and I think one time I was even part of something with I think it was Brian Kozlowski. I think it was gave a small portion of that and was part of that one time, uh, and yeah, that's always cool. That's always cool when you get to get your name on the car. And I was on the car for all the times that they did get fans' names on Dale Jr.'s cars at Talladega. I was a part of that. And then here's another thing. David Cunningham says, "I'd bet money NASCAR wouldn't have changed its championship format if Senior was still alive. A lot of things changed. Some go to safety, some bad to sport." I'll argue with you on that because I think what it really come down to on that championship format, they had no choice but to drop Winston because of things going on with things that's not healthy and stuff like that. Those kinds of things. When it comes down to that, I think Winston was going to go away no matter what. Nextel was going to take over, and that was more or less an agreement to come together with Nextel wanting to come up with this more creative thing, and NASCAR thought it would be a good way to advance their sport. I think that was going to happen no matter what. But you do say, a lot of things changed. Some good with safety, some bad with sport. I'll agree. I think if Senior hadn't died, there wouldn't have been as much change. And actually, on my channel, when I get done with my predictions video, one of the videos I want to make is 10 things that would be different if Dale Earnhardt Sr. hadn't passed away. I'm actually going to probably make a video on that.
I'll vote for the contrary, just for the reason that I think by after 2003 or so, Earnhardt would have probably retired. And he would have been a really big voice, not only just for owners and in the garage area, but just for more of a voice for the fans too. Because I think he's someone who sort of understood where the ordinary man came from compared to a lot of the guys who have come up the last 20 years or so. And I do think that, I think someone like Earnhardt, if he didn't like it enough or if he had heard rumors about it enough, I think over the course of a season could garner enough fan support to get rid of it.
Yeah, like I said earlier, in the end, it is a business, and when it comes down to it, in my opinion, the sponsor gets a lot of say in the way it's being run because they're the one who's funding it. But like I said, I don't care what Monster thinks. You're not going to see people just suddenly want to be sipping on a Monster and wearing their clothing. I don't know what they have in mind, but they can do and say what they think.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know why Notre Dame always puts stuff out for people to buy or all this stuff on NBC. It's like people don't want to buy their stuff,
Someone here asked, do you think Junior would have stayed with DEI or would have at least let him take the 8 to Hendrick? I'll go ahead and answer that now. I do want to still make that video on what do I think would be differently if he was still alive. But quite honestly, I think DEI would still be around right now. I think Junior would have actually stuck with them because things would have been much differently in the management. It really come down to the way that, widow Teresa was left to run this company that I'm sure was hurting her just to have to run that because, it would remind her too much of her husband she lost. And I think if things had been any differently, I think the company would still be around, honestly.
All right, I'll bring 2 scenarios that I think could happen, and then I want to see if you want to do something really quick at the end of the stream. One scenario, which I think this would be the big one, is yes, he'd be still at DEI and it would still be around. And then if he wasn't at DEI, I think he would have had Earnhardt's blessing to go wherever, just because to become his own man and not be in his dad's shadows, basically. So,
oh yeah, I mean, if the performance was still dropping, I think he would have looked elsewhere, and Earnhardt would have said anything about that, because obviously he left Richard Childress after a while racing with him to go race in a Ford for a while, but he ultimately came back. But that's besides the point. Jamie McMurray, he started with Ganassi. He went over to Roush Fenway, won a few races with him, but ultimately he's back with Ganassi, and he's going to finish his career there.
That's like the really fun thing about what ifs is, you could think of many different things. It's just, and you can't be proven right or wrong, just whether it's likely or not. Thing I wanted to ask is maybe for like the next 10 minutes, you want to just do a Q&A and see which people, like if people want to ask either of us different questions until like 9 o'clock here, 10 o'clock there.
Yeah, go ahead. Like, guys, shoot some questions in the comment section. We've been answering some here, and let me make sure there isn't any interesting ones that I've missed here or anything. David Cunningham Sr. had a big opinion and say in the sport. I agree with the sponsor change, but not with the format change. Okay, that's good input of what we was talking about.
Same here. I think too.
David's going to watch out for that video. Yeah, I definitely think that my format of video editing, I think that'll end up being a good one to make, especially once I've wrapped up my predictions and all that. Other than that, no really questions or anything here that we have missed yet. But if anyone has any other questions, go ahead and throw them out.
Shoot about anything. It doesn't even matter if it's about NASCAR or not.
Okay. Okay. Well, this AB68 says, "Gotta go, guys. Hope you get more subscribers. You deserve them. Thank you very much."
Thanks for coming on, AB.
We're trying our best here. We appreciate guys like you getting on here. We only got 8 people watching. We've had 11 people like this video, but it's we're small YouTubers who just love to talk about NASCAR and just BS with each other. So,
yep. Oh, okay. Here's one. I'm gonna say it's C. Costain is how you pronounce it. Is the Roval gonna be a success? I think the first few races.
The first one's gonna have so much hype, it's gonna sell out.
Oh, and that shit's gonna be a freaking wreck fest, because you're gonna have, even with as much testing as possible, you're not gonna be able to simulate like 35 cars around each other on it. And
I really think that first lap, when they come off of turn 4 and you've got that chicane, there's gonna be somebody, even if it's in the Xfinity series, is gonna zone out because they're gonna be used to the usual configuration. And they're going to run that like the actual Charlotte at first. I really think that's going to happen, and there's going to be a wreck because of that.
Yeah, there's going to be like people who want to do the Charlotte portion the most, and then people who want to do the road course portion. And I honestly think that if there's not a wreck in the first 5 laps, success. Like, I mean, how do I put it? While there's so many talented drivers around now, there's a lot of these younger ones that are so aggressive and just want to get ahead right away. I honestly think that somebody's going to get so impatient right off the bat and not know how to drive this track. That's a big thing. The unknown that these drivers will have. I think that race is going to be a wreck fest. It's going to be like the repave at Kansas in 2012, where it's going to be like, a crash at start, okay, for a little bit, and then a complete wreck fest for the last 60% of the race.
Yep. Moving on here to another question. Irishman GFS asked, "What do you recommend for my channel? Because I've been sort of dropping in views." I'll give you a few tips. What I've done, being a recently started channel, I watch a lot of videos that give me tips on how to grow a YouTube channel when you have nothing at first. Some good people to watch is just Alex Halford. He puts out a lot of good videos on how to use Sony Vegas, how to grow YouTube channels. He is a great channel. He started with nothing. Now he's up to 100-something thousand people on his channel. And the important thing is figure out what your niche is. What can you be most confident to talk about? What can you be most confident to put videos out with? For me, I put out videos of a few odds and ends. Like I had a really good video where I reacted to the College Football National Championship as a Tennessee Volunteers fan. Well, I mean, that got me 40-something thousand views, but ultimately my niche that I can come back and consistently talk about stuff is NASCAR. So that's what I stick to. It's all about finding out what you think is going to be the best for yourself. That's my biggest advice for you. And learn how to edit your videos good. That's going to keep your audience wanting to watch more, and you're going to be drawing in more people. No offense to it. These streams are fun and all, but if this is all that I did, I feel like people would get bored of it. So I have to throw in a lot of videos where I've edited them, or I've edited them really good. I keep improving my quality of getting, I've improved my camera, I've improved my lighting, things like that. Keep improving your channel, and learn how to use your tags correctly. Learn how to write good titles, learn how to write good descriptions, and create custom thumbnails, and just make sure you're drawing people into your channel.
I'd say building off that point, what I did sort of like for this, like I'm a big fan of this YouTuber, Andy Worski, and he's covered a bunch of different stuff. He's been on the site since I think 2007. Like he was one of the old channels on there, and he didn't get big until 2016, around the time of the election, right? He started with just skits with his friends. He didn't care, whatever. Just do whatever seemed like it'd be fun. He made a movie. And he sort of moved on to sort of like reaction type videos, and then stuff ripping on like the SJW type and politics. And now he's doing like streams with just different people talking about whatever, whether it be like politics, alt-right, whatever, whoever it is. But he found the stuff and was willing to change too. Like you can't just, this is a thing that like I want to do stuff sort of like that. Like that's how I sort of wanted to start doing streams with Danny B, and just, and talk to other people as well, is just be willing to accept that you're going to have to change some stuff from what you originally want to do. You can find that same subject and do stuff off of it, but you got to find new ways to draw people in with it, new formats. Like, you also have to be, you can't be afraid to put yourself out there. Like you might not tell from how I am right now, being willing to just sort of talk behind a computer screen, but I'm a really introverted person, and I got on this channel, want to say 2015, but I had another one that I deleted all the stuff off and just scrubbed it clean back in 2012, 2013. It took a lot over those, probably from 13 to about 4 or 5 years. It took a lot for me to finally be like, I can put my face on here. So if you're not comfortable with that, you don't have to. What I'm saying is be willing to go outside of your comfort zone, because you'll find that it's a lot more fun once you finally realize it's like, why was I scared to do this? Or why didn't I change from doing this? So sort of be willing to branch out, I guess is what I can say. Because I don't know if you just talk about racing or whatnot, but if not, cover a few subjects. Like I experimented. I was one of those jerks who sat at a concert filming from the upper deck first. Those were my first few videos, like at a Iron Maiden concert, a Rush concert, Kiss concert, right? And I got a few hundred views. I recorded at a what do you call it? Like a sprint car track when they came to town. And I started making my own stuff with this cheap app that I got, a free app that was definitely, there's a reason it was free. And then I started doing stuff on here. You just sort of build into whatever you're doing next. If you're dropping in views, see what videos are dropping off. Go on the analytics page. If anything, get hooked on to looking at the analytics on a regular basis. Okay, so you said, yes, I started gaming, but since changed to NASCAR, since gaming kind of fell off the YouTube map. Yeah, and I think that leads to another thing is learn what the algorithm will give. Like,
yeah, I mean, I can relate to him on that, because I had a few videos where I was doing gaming, but they got not even 100 views, and I realized real fast, this is not popular. You do not need to do this. Enjoy your games, playing them and all, but people are not going to watch you right now. And I was like, I have to go back to what's working for me. And even then, I had a situation where I lost my computer for just a little over a week and a half, and you know what? That hurt me, because I stopped showing up as consistently, and my views have suffered since then. My latest predictions video, and those used to be getting, 1,000, 2,000 views. It's not even at 1,000 views at the moment. And my subscriber growth has really slowed down. I'm at 618, but I was like at 600 for a long time. And like there was a at my highest, I was gaining on average 100 a week, and now it's really slowed down a lot for me.
And between those 2 points, there's two things I've noticed too, and I haven't grown at the rate that you have, but there's always that big explosion, right? Like last summer, I went to a Cubs game for my brother's birthday, and I decided I'm not going to look at my phone at all. Whole weekend, not going to look at anything on YouTube or whatever. And I came back that Friday, or not Friday, Tuesday when we got back after not being on since Friday. And one of my videos, my one about the chase, exploded. And I just sort of sat there. I'm like, I don't have to upload anything for a while, and people keep watching. And people did watch for a while. And slowly it went off, and I realized you can't just live off that one video. Like you were doing is you had that one that exploded, but you found something you did and kept doing it as you went. So
David Cunningham just brought up a great point in the comments. He said, always absorb anything and everything broadcasting from racing to golf. Start studying how other people do it. Watch your favorite ones a few times to let it really sink in, maybe even a little. I did the exact same thing. I used to make channels on my old channel fishing. I used to make videos on my old channel fishing with Lee and that. It was a bass fishing channel that couldn't really put content out that consistently on it. It wasn't that good. Quality wasn't really there. It was at the time it was best I could do. But I mean, I took a long time off, and I started watching people like I got in phase where I was a big fan of Van Oss Gaming. Kind of don't really watch him as much anymore. I got into a phase where I still love Brew Stew Films. They are really great quality. Sorry, I don't want to say great quality because it's actually pretty simple, but it's really good. Like the work that he's doing, I'm a big fan of that channel. Another channel that I've been watching more here recently, even though it's a classic channel, is JonTron. His channel is pretty hilarious in my opinion, and I've been watching him a lot more when I've been in my editing mode, and it's kind of rubbing off just a tiny bit. I did my last video I put up last night was an unboxing for a NASCAR package that I got. Hey, y'all should go check that out after this. I'm just saying. But
it's a very interesting video.
But anyway, so like it had a big way in the way that I edited that and filmed it, and I actually had a lot of fun making that one. And that's kind of how I'm wanting to go more. I look at these successful channels and I enjoy what they're doing, and I'm like, just apply that similar style to what you're doing in your own niche, and you'll be all right.
I'd also say, watch what this sort of algorithm puts forth. Like when I started like actually watching more stuff on more content on YouTube and sort of noticing stuff that was going on was about end of 2015, but about start of my senior year of high school. And there were these two channels that just exploded over like 2015 and 2016. And one of them, and a lot of you guys probably have heard, Leafy is Here and Grade A Under A. And they were sort of these what do you call it? Like parody / somewhat serious comedic channels, right? And they put out these videos, and at first they were like only like 4 minutes or so, but they put out videos that were like 20 minutes because the algorithm built so that those would be pushed forward because more people would watch, those would get more advertiser dollars. And over time, they sort of went back to more traditional like 4 to 10 minute videos. And now one thing that I noticed at the end of 2017 that YouTube is really pushing forward, especially with this new monetization platform, is streaming. They're pushing streaming out, and that's why we've started this more, is because it adds, as we close in on 1,000 subs, like you, Danny, you more than me. They count viewership hours too per year.
Yep.
And if you can get even one person say this, like I think we've been going about 2 hours, didn't even feel like it.
So even these 5 people, you all watching us for 2 hours here, 5 times 2, that's instantly 10 hours of watch time you just contributed.
Yeah, and that's doesn't even add into the people who might throughout the week watch it, or if they're like just listening to it as they're doing chores around the house, or like I would do over the summer. Is like I'm a big fan of people like Ben Shapiro and Joe Santagato, politics and comedy. I just mowing the lawn, front and backyard, I just put them on for an hour and a half and go from there. And so streaming is a way that, and people don't even have to even listen to it. They can just have it playing in the background. And then if they hear something they want to hear, they can rewind and go back to it. And it's sort of that, it's like once you sort of notice the stuff on the algorithms, notice that stuff. You don't have to go streaming, but just notice what stuff is getting pushed forward. What's on your recommended tab? See, what I did is I would see what the average length of a video was, right? Because I'm very analytical with a lot of that stuff. And I'd see the average length of a video sort of went down as people stream more, or they'd go up a little bit, but it'd have to be something that could keep you watching. Like if it's a Star Wars video, it had to be something that keeps you entertained the whole time. So I basically what I'm trying to say is like, see what people are doing more and see if you can make yourself do sort of the same type of thing while at the same time standing out. Because I've noticed like there's not many, I haven't seen many streams, and I'll look up NASCAR as a keyword, each day. There's not many streams that are just talking about racing. So our stream, while we might not have the most subscribers out of any NASCAR channel, our channels then stand out more. So find something that makes you stand out where people are like, oh, I have to watch that each week.
Yeah. So, and think of that. If you're going into watching a stream, you already know it's going to be long. I mean, you're going into that knowing that that's coming up, and you're prepared for that. But now, if you're going to be going to watch an edited video, you don't want that video to be long and like that. With me, when I edit my videos, I have to do a lot of what we call jump cutting. And the only reason I do that is to keep you guys actually interested and wanting to talk to me. Because let me tell you this, that last video I put up, it was like 16 minutes long total. I edited it down into a 9.5-minute video. I mean, it takes a lot of time to edit my videos, but I do that in a way to make sure that everything sounds perfect. I even get rid of me breathing, like that. You have to catch little things like that, because if you go so long with those little things, if you're doing a stream like this, you don't care. It's going to be long. But if you are wanting to make something that's going to be a consistent, YouTube channel thing, you need to learn to keep it, entertaining the whole time, I guess is the best way to put that.
And I'll say, if you do choose to do streaming, which I know it's not everyone's thing, and I'm still having trouble with it. I say a lot of the same words a lot, like the word like.
Obviously, it's not, streaming is interesting because I think the highest I've seen this go up to was 8 views at one point. But the thing is, that's something that some people might not have time to watch us now. And actually, I got a notification on my phone on Twitch that Jeff Fabiano was live, and I love watching his stuff. But I can't watch it now because I'm in the middle of my own stream. But I'll go back and I'll watch it later. And people can still do that with these streams too. If they just want to, me, I'll have times when I go and I cook food or I'll wash my dishes or do something around the house, and I'll just turn on something like this even to pass some time there and all that. So I mean, it's all about with YouTube. It's good to have your own algorithm, your own setup for it, and the way you do things. But mix in some things like streams like this from time to time, and I mean, that's pretty much all I can say. We've been going on this for a long, long time. Okay, Irishman said he streamed, but his internet would be tanked most likely. If you got bad internet, then, I guess that can play a big factor into it. Me, I pay a little bit more for my internet just to be able to do a few more things. But, I guess it's, it just depends on what your financial situation is there, I guess. I'm fortunate enough to have a job that, allows me to afford a few things, and it's allowed me to focus not only on my full-time job, but also focus on my my YouTube channel, and I have a side business that I do as well. I'm gonna go ahead and answer my last 2 questions. So we need to be wrapping this up here. I'm gonna answer them both from David Cunningham. He asked 2 things. One was pretty simple. Still wondering, did you have the knife out while stabbing the box in that unboxing? Yes, I did. I actually was stabbing into that box, but I knew it was gonna be fine because I knew it was packaged well. I knew it wasn't gonna hurt what was inside of it, and I was just stabbing like right into like the edge of it, and it wasn't even like going in that far or anything. David Cunningham also asked, how about some good internet providers? That it depends on where you're at. Because me, I use a company called Vive Internet. I'm not really sure how many more locations they have nationwide, but for me, it's like 50 something a month. But I mean, my internet is pretty good.
I will really quick.
One more question also come in. We can also get that one too. Would you find rare diecasts? I'm not really sure what you're asking exactly. Would you find rare diecasts? I mean, yeah, you can find those online. Even there's some that are selling for a lot of money because they're so rare. But I guess that I'm not really sure exactly how to answer that exactly.
One thing just to sort of wrap up my end of it with a bow with that thing about YouTube stuff is whether you're streaming or making your own videos, if you're speaking, practice on it. Like before I started streaming, I would spend about a month in here. Each night that like an Andy Worski show was on, or like maybe a debate on like Dave Rubin, like because I'm into politics outside of this. I would practice, like if someone was saying something, I would practice what I would say back and how I would say it. You'll think that you'll be sitting there like I'm the crazy person talking to myself in in my room, but it helps you sort of know how to enunciate and say the things that you need to say and the way you need to say them. Or if you're just doing something like doing a video where you're just talking about something, write a script and practice it. I did the first part and I would always suck at the practicing it part, but just sort of practice what you're doing, know what you're getting into, and then just full speed ahead. Don't let people tell you can't do it, but listen to constructive criticism.
Okay. Harvick McDonald asked another diecast related question. He said, I mean, rare Dale Jr. Thing of Dale Jr. diecast, there's not really one that's really rare because his were usually very, very overproduced. So I don't think there's many rare ones. I know there's a few out there that's pretty rare, but there's not a whole lot of them.
The old 3 ones. I have one of those in my room, but yeah, because I got it from a friend. Those ones, if you get one of those, hold on to it.
Yeah, I've actually got one in 132 scale. Actually, on eBay, I paid like $10 for the shipping, but I got a 132 scale AC Delco car. I got a size in between that. That's like 148 scale, number 31 Wrangler car for him, and then I've got 2 164 cars of him and a number 31, like they were white. I got all 4 of those for 99 cents plus shipping off of eBay. I got really lucky on that one.
Irishman, just really quick, said that he liked my Matt Kenseth video and didn't realize until now it was you. Thank you. It's most of the time that people realize something's me, it's from my really crappy video that has a ton of like I have a video that like has my about NASCAR fans getting screwed, and I made it when I was like an angsty 18-year-old. It's horrible. And so anytime anyone realizes something is me, they're like, oh, you're the guy that made that shitty video like 2 years ago. So thank you for actually liking one of the ones that I liked putting on there. just wanted to put that out. Thank you, Irishman.
Yeah. Harvick McDonald asked, would you buy diecast of crap drivers like Yaley, Jeb Burton, Ryan Truex, etc.? Yeah, I mean, it depends on what it is. Like I've got the Trevor Bayne 2012 way back Pat Tennessee Vols car he ran at Bristol and got it on the pole with. Yeah, I've got that one, and there's actually only like 300 of those made because it actually took the owner of JP's NASCAR to really just say he would personally pay for them all to be made just because people wanted that car that bad, and I do have one of them made.
For me, I would ask 2 questions. 1, does the car look cool? And 2, is it a discount? Because for me, I only buy stuff that's either Dale Jr. or Dale Sr., and then maybe just a few others if I think they look cool. But for me, I don't buy many other die casts just because a lot of them cost so much, especially the newer ones.
Yeah, and even then, if there's a car that people are wanting, you can make them custom yourself. I've made custom cars before. I made the 2014 Matt Kenseth GameStop car that he won Homestead in the Nationwide Series, and then I've made other cars for other people. I made a car one time for somebody of the car they race in iRacing. I made a car for somebody of Ryan Ellis in the number 25 car. Those cars, they were not produced at all by Lionel or Action or anything. And if there's something that you really want to be made, there's a good video series on YouTube that actually teaches you how to make those custom die casts, and that's how I learned to make it. And I've actually got a number 53 dirt late model car that was owned by Ray Cook Racing, and it was driven by Chase Elliott in a couple of races, and I actually made that myself and then got it signed by Ray Cook.
Irishman, I love your comment. I'd buy 4 wheels and a ruler and call that a die cast.
Hey, that works right there. And I think that's a good way to go ahead and close it off.
That is a way to end it. All right, Danny B, where can they find you?
You can find me on YouTube at DannyBTalks, and I'm also on Twitter and Facebook. And I do have an Instagram that's not really DannyBTalks. It's just my own personal Instagram, but I have it linked to my channel. So go ahead and go check out some DannyBTalks. Go check out the unboxing from yesterday. Check out a random video I did, how NASCAR drivers would be as WWE superstars. And you know what? Go watch part 7 of my prediction series. And you know what, guys? I've been editing some tonight. I'll edit just for a little bit more tonight and then edit more tomorrow. But part 8 should be going up either tomorrow or maybe Friday. It depends on how fast I can get it done.
All right, and you're on my channel already, so just subscribe. And I have Danny B's channel in the link below. On top of that, I have my Twitter account at IceTitan80, which I'm going to be making in the next month or two an official one for this channel, just because my Twitter account is a political shitstorm. And then if you do enjoy political stuff that I would put out, and you also just want a different thing than Twitter, I'm also on a website called gab.ai. It's sort of like a mix between Reddit and Twitter. It's pretty cool. So I'll be on there at Iceberg. You'll know it's me based on the picture, whether it's black and white or in color, of me and Kyle Larson at Chicagoland. So that's sort of how you know it's me. So
yeah, and I see somebody's already listened here. Harvick McDonald subscribed, and when he did that, it gave me a better view of his profile picture, and I did not realize how literally that is Harvick McDonald. It is Ronald McDonald with Kevin Harvick's face photoshopped onto it, and I love that picture. Everything about that.
Take a screenshot of that if you can get the chance, or if I'll just find you and take a screenshot, because I want that. Me and my uncle have a joke that we call Kevin Harvick Craftsman. And I was like, what? And when my uncle first said it, I'm like, why do you call him Craftsman? Because he's the official tool of NASCAR.
I just took a screenshot on that. Let me open up GIMP real fast, and I'll crop it up and I'll send it over to you later. All
right, and thank you, Irishman. But my shit storms are shittier than most. So, but thank you for telling me you'll follow me. That's pretty cool.
Harvick McDonald asked next stream, how about we'll either be doing these. Well, let's keep it consistent. Let's start doing these on Wednesdays unless something big is happening that we can't do it. And what we're going to do is we're going back and forth on both of our channels. So we did it on Iceberg's channel here this week. So next week it's going to be over on my channel.
Yep, and I have his channel in the link below. And then we'll also, if we're at the race, we'll just cover whatever race we're at on our channels. So like for Chicagoland, it'll be on mine. And then what was the race you said you were going to this?
I'm going to Bristol. I'm going to the Coke 600, and none really for sure, but I'm considering the fall Richmond race and potentially the fall or the Indianapolis race.
Okay, so if those will be on yours, and then we'll just sort of switch it around on what ones are on mine, and the ones on mine, and switch which ones around on yours, and so be it. We'll announce on the stream and on our social media and probably on our channels too. So just if you want to keep watching this stuff, if you think that it's pretty entertaining, which you should.
Or if you think that we're just a bunch of stupid people on the internet just need to shut up, well then I guess that's your cue to go then.
Or keep watching and just hate watch. We're cool with that too.
I mean, that's cool too. It counts as a view no matter what. So.
Yep. With that, I think we'll be going. So till next week, see you around.
Yep. See you guys.